Morning, gang. Okay, Thursday morning here. So, uh, I promise you, this is not gloom and doom or anything like that. Not going there. Do you know me? I'm just going to give you guys the facts and let you figure it out here. But next month, we've already talked about the homeless crisis that's going to happen here on April 1st, undoubtedly, unless something screwy happens in Washington, which is just kicking the can down the road. But this one's a little bit more close to home for the rest of us. Okay. So we've all talked about inflation, food shortages, empty shelves everywhere, and the like, right? So I wanted to delve a little deeper into this as I got an interesting comment yesterday from Kimberly Brand on one of the videos. I just want to read it to you, okay? It says, hang on, folks. We're seeing major changes in our trucking and brokerage. Most freight, food products, is hauled at $2.50 to $3.50 a mile. A dream load would be $4 to $4.50 a load. But this week, we're being quoted upwards of $8.50 from truck drivers. This is the first tangible sign that food prices are going to skyrocket. We, meaning people in her profession, see the economy about a month out from the rest of folks. So hang on, it's going to get ridiculous in our grocery stores because the only choice for the shipper is to pay it. The price will then be passed on to the consumer. Need a job? Drive a truck because there's a huge shortage. A lot of the available trucks have gone to the government to haul COVID vaccine. Okay. So I read that, was shocked, okay? I mean, I don't know a whole lot about the trucking industry, but hey, I'll go do some research and get educated. So I did some looking. Now, we see all those signs on the back of trucks all the time, advertising for drivers saying, 50 cents to 60 cents a mile or whatever, and whatever it would be. That's what the driver makes to drive a company truck. Now, like I said, I've never been a truck driver, but I got a lot of respect for them. Okay, they spend long hours on the road, away from family for days on end. They're sleeping in less than ideal places, unless they have their own cab, and even then, it's still not bedroom next to the wife. They're eating dinners at diners and truck stops, not exactly your healthy home-cooked foods. So now they're making 50 or 60 cents a mile, and the company's getting paid $2.50 or $3.50 for that mile. All right, now the company supplies the trucks, the fuel, the insurance. I get it. Okay. Now, when the owner-operator is getting that $2.50 to $3.50, now he's paying for the truck, the maintenance, the fuel, the insurance. And so, again, he's probably making a little bit better than the 50 to 60 cents. But even then, a truck is a depreciating asset, so he's got to save whatever extra he's making over that to eventually buy him a new truck. Okay. Now, if rates go to $4.50, like Kimberly said, they make more money. Sure. But we've all seen gas prices go up, and everywhere I look, diesel's more expensive than gas, so I can understand the prices going up. Thank you for closing down the Keystone Pipeline. This all gets passed on to us at the store. Now, Kimberly's saying that the cost of a load just went up to $8.50 a mile. Now, imagine what that's going to do to the price that you're going to pay at the store. Okay, the cost of a load just went up $5 to $6 per mile, from $2.50 or $3.50 to $8.50. Okay, that's going to mean the price of your green beans, your hamburger, your paint, your screws, or whatever is going to go up too. I mean, the businesses, let's just say Home Depot or the grocery store, they got to recoup that cost somewhere, and that's going to come from you. They can't keep the prices the same because if they aren't making money, they close, and then there is no grocery store, no hardware store, no Walmart, no whatever. Okay. So I looked into why this is going on. This is what I found. So the supply side of the freight market had become very tight in 2020, not because equipment was scarce, but because of a driver shortage more than anything else. That had put the trucking industry in a position where it had to chase rate increases, and speculation is for the next couple of years. The trucking industry has about 80,000 fewer available drivers now than they did a year ago. Okay, the federal stimulus, our stimmy checks, increased the unemployment and couched a lot of the drivers who said, I can make more money staying home than I can be out on the road. What we talked about yesterday. Okay, Then add to that, the CDC, or CDL, Drug and Alcohol Clearinghouse, took about 40,000 drivers off the road, about 1% of the driving force, from January to September of last year due to failed drug test results, most of which were for marijuana use, but still, okay, go out, smoke some marijuana, drive, and see what happens to you. You'll spend the night in jail and thousands of dollars getting everything fixed. Now, to make matters worse, if the Department of Health and Human Services figures out how to do a hair follicle testing rule for CDL licenses, 5 to 10 times as many drivers would become ineligible for unemployment. Imagine that, 200 to 800,000 less drivers, okay? Additionally, the industry has seen a 40% drop in CDL training due to closures. About 20% of the truck driving schools are still closed, and the remainder are graduating fewer students because they've got a social distance, so we can't have as many people in classes. So what we're seeing is less experienced drivers on the road, less new drivers getting into the profession. The amount of goods that needs to be shipped increases as the population increases, of course. So this causes a couple of huge problems. Higher prices as drivers are more in demand, so they can dictate higher prices. That's typical supply and demand, economics 101. And then shortages on the shelves because there aren't enough drivers to get things done. So under both scenarios, it's us, the consumer, that loses. Now, we talk here and on many other channels about food shortages at the store, but at the same time, we hear about dairy farmers dumping milk, farmers plowing under produce, ranchers killing off livestock. Okay, this explains why pretty easily that it's not that there isn't enough food, it's that they have no way to get it to market. Then don't forget, farms use heavy equipment too, which takes fuel, and as the price of that goes up, either the farmer takes a loss on his crops, which of course then means he doesn't plant anymore, or the wholesale price of the crop is increased, which again, of course, is passed on to you and me. You see, this is what awaits us this summer. And if Kimberly's comment becomes reality, this $8.50 a mile per load, comes into reality across the board, we can expect to see our costs at the store go through the roof. Now, we've all talked about how the price of lumber has tripled. Imagine if that happens to food costs, not just for you, but for the country as a whole. As of right now, 1 in 9 people in the U.S. struggle with hunger. And don't even get me started on all this foreign aid we send because, oh my God, the kids in Ethiopia are hungry, okay? But you can imagine, what's going to happen if the price of food triples. Now, y'all saw how much food I was able to buy when we did the food drive at Christmas. I was able to get 4 full shopping carts for about $500, and I got really good prices on stuff at the outlet, okay? Imagine now if I was only able to get 1 shopping cart, maybe 1 1/3 carts for that $500. Well, usually 1 cartload of groceries is what people buy for their own household, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly, however often you go to the grocery store. But imagine if that now cost $500. Okay, that's not in my budget, and I'm betting it's not in yours. So now, if that all happens, imagine how the donations to food banks would drop off, okay? Now those 1 in 9 people that are hungry becomes what, 1 in 6? Think about that for a second, 1 in 6. That means if you look to your neighbor's house to the left and your neighbor's house to the right, and there's couples in all 3 houses, including yours, 1 of those 6 people is hungry tonight. That's how close this is, guys. That's how dire straits we are. That's how close we are to the country starving, okay? Think it'll never happen? Want some recent history on this? Y'all know how I love to give you guys the history lesson, all right? The Great Chinese Famine was a period between 1959 and 1961, okay? 60 years ago, not that long. It's widely regarded as the deadliest famine and one of the greatest man-made disasters in human history, okay? The estimated death toll due to starvation ranges in the tens of millions. They have nowhere close what they've got. Somewhere between 15 and 55 million people starved to death in 3 years, okay? The major contributing factor in the famine were the policies of the Great Leap Forward, Okay, political policy here, where Chairman Mao Zedong launched a campaign to reconstruct the country from an agrarian economy into a communist society through the formation of the People's Commune. Private farming was prohibited, and those engaged in it were persecuted and labeled counter-revolutionaries. Restrictions on rural people were enforced through public struggle sessions and social pressure. Does that sound like anything going on today? Okay. Social credit scores, Bill Gates buying 288,000 acres. I don't know how much the corporate farms are running out, the family farms, counter-revolutionaries. Think about everything in that little paragraph I just read to you that translates into today, okay? Now, the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, stated in June of 1981, okay, 20 years later, that the famine was mainly due to the mistakes of the Great Leap Forward, as well as the anti-rightist campaign, in addition to some natural disasters and the collapse of the Sino-Soviet relations, okay? So, don't think the Chinese aren't familiar with this. Like I told you, yesterday, day before yesterday, they're buying land in North Africa like crazy. Why? So they don't starve. And what is the United States doing? Though we're following these morons in Davos down a path to destruction. Okay? Guys, all I can say is this. Stock your pantries to the rafters. Buy another freezer. Learn to can, learn to smoke, learn to dry meats, learn to store your vegetables, preserving them any way you can. Get the gardens going full steam. It's getting real ugly, real fast. And of course, no one in the media is telling us anything about this. According to them, everything's peachy keen. More fake news. Pinball out.